Orange Weekly, fans, brews, and Broncos news.
What is going on, Broncos country? Welcome to another edition of Bourbon Broncos No BS special edition tonight. We are trying a brand new thing called a la carte all throughout July and up to training camp, or at least the preseason games. Tuesday nights, instead of our full length show, we're going to be giving you bite-sized pieces, 20-minute topics that we can discuss as we take a deep dive into different players, different position groups, and have just a really good time as we get hyped up for training camp. So as you're joining here, go ahead and please put in your comments, put in your questions, and let's get some Broncos talk on our plates here. Obviously, this is the number one topic for Broncos fans this offseason, right? Bo Nix signing. People really excited, maybe not really excited. People are cautiously optimistic, and people that are not happy about Bo Nix in any way, shape, or form, right? Jarrett Stidham is still there. Let's talk about him a little bit. And then Zach Wilson, right? Why is Zach Wilson here? And what are your guys' thoughts? Really, more importantly, what are Broncos country's thoughts on what we're going to do with these quarterback picks? Lots of rumors or lots of, interpretation as to what could be going on, especially with really looking at Coach Payton here. He's never been in this position with a brand new quarterback that he wants to develop and bring up into his system, right? And that is worrisome, because essentially Sean Payton has put all of his chips onto Bo Nix. He has said that this is my guy. We're going to make this work. If this doesn't work out, Sean Payton isn't going to be here. Okay. We're talking about 2 to 3 years to really see if Bo Nix works or not. But if Bo Nix is just a complete fail, you're talking about us kind of resetting another 2 or 3 years behind where we are now, right? And that's not a position we want to be in if we're going to start adding quarterback names to that long list of starting quarterbacks we've had since Peyton Manning, okay? We want to avoid that. Sean Payton wants to avoid that, not just for the sake of that being something we want to avoid, but his job as well. He wants to go down in NFL history to show that he is a legit NFL quarterback or NFL coach, and bringing these quarterbacks up, being able to have that experience and expertise to be able to not only just find the quarterback that fits your team, but develop him as well. Those are two very different things. For me, I totally believe that Bo Nix is somebody that could step into this role, and we'll get into why in a little bit. But we also got to look at, where does Jarrett Stidham come into play with this, and where does Zach Wilson fall into the picture as well? So, again, everyone, my name is Kev Dan. You're looking at Bourbon Broncos No BS a la carte. Tuesday nights, we're going to be doing this 20-minute session, just doing a deep dive into one of the players or player positions, and really see what's going on as we get closer to training camp and closer to the start of the season. So, as always, guys, I talk to myself all day long. Let's hear from you all. Put something in the comments. I want to hear from you guys. Who do you want to start at quarterback? Why? One of the other things with Bo Nix, do we start him right away, or do we sit him behind one of these other guys, such as Jarrett Stidham, for a little while to give him really some time to develop and pick up the pace with the NFL style of play? And let's get into some of these numbers here. Interesting thing with Bo Nix, if you all didn't know or kind of really hadn't studied the pattern or the history of Bo Nix here. Remember, he did start at Auburn, went to Oregon there his last 2 years, played a total of 5 due to COVID. Early on out at Auburn, didn't do too well. You're looking at completion percentages of upper 50s to low 60s. But now here's where things change. He goes out to Oregon, right? And all of a sudden finds another gear. In the 13, 14 games he played in 22 and 23 respectively, he was looking at a 72% completion average or percentage, and a 77.4 completion percentage in 2023. Okay, so better numbers there. And when you move over to, let's just look at Zach Wilson, because he's had more playing time, at least starting, than Jarrett Stidham has. In 2023, Zach Wilson was looking at a completion percentage of 60.1%. So right, we're looking at, does NFL really compare to college football? We'll see. We got Keith and Anthony in here. How are you guys doing? Let's see. Keith, any news from the workout Stidham hosted? I haven't heard anything. And to be honest, I mean, it's kind of almost for me like what would have happened that would be shocking, right? I think we kind of know, at least foresee that Bo Nix will be the starter for the season. If he doesn't start, it's going to raise a lot of red flags in Broncos country, me included. It's going to be like, what is going on? Why is this guy not ready to start? When all we've heard since drafting him, and even before drafting him, was how mature he is and how ready he is for the NFL compared to other normal rookies. And so, looking at Jarrett Stidham, it's almost like, what can he do to really say, I deserve to be the starter of this team? Bo Nix can sit and wait for a year or two. I don't care. This is my team. And for me, honestly, Stidham would have to go out there and just play lights out amazing every single day, Keith. And that's just not something we're going to see from Jarrett Stidham. To be honest with you, if you guys remember the last 2 games of the season last year, which you very may well have just blocked out of your memory. I know it seems like I kind of do that from time to time, just because of the way the season ended. But what you saw there from Jarrett Stidham at the end of the season, to me, is what you can expect from him at his best. That was the ceiling for Jarrett Stidham. So, if he is hosting these workouts, if he's doing things, that's great. I mean, he's way better than I could ever be, right? I'm not, I can't be too hard on the guy. But when you're looking at who's going to be the starter for the Broncos, I just don't see anything that he brings to the table that is going to help the team continue to move in the right direction. If we put him out there, he may be a safer option to start the season, but the team is stagnant. Okay. Maybe things will improve over a couple games as they learn, they get more reps with Jarrett Stidham under center. But by the time you throw Bo Nix out there, now you're having to start all of that from scratch, essentially, in the middle of the season. And now you're taking away first team reps during practice away from Bo Nix. And it's going to be messy. So for me, to be honest, I don't see why Stidham would be doing that other than to just, engage with the public. I know a lot of players host off-season workouts, with the public or training camps, just for kids or something like that. So, but I haven't heard anything, Keith, and if you have, definitely let me know. Anthony, will we see preseason games? Maybe. I mean, depending on where you live. We cannot stream them here on the page, unfortunately, just due to all the copyright stuff. So unfortunately, you'll have to either get that through the Sunday Ticket, or not Sunday Ticket, the whatever the NFL Game Pass or something is, and then and hopefully if you live in market here in Colorado, you can see those games as well. Victor, good to see you, my man. How you doing? D-Rock, awesome. First time, long time. I love it, man. Except you comment here quite a bit, and I love it. That's a good thing. If Joseph Smith starts, how screwed are we? So for Bo Nix, if you're talking about Bo Nix, I'm a little slow on the uptake, so I apologize. I think this is tough, guys. I think in a normal, maybe more normal situation, that would be the question to be asking of, hey, if we go this route, we're really screwed. I think we got to keep in mind that this season really is about a rebuilding year. Really looking at the young talent on the team and seeing what they can do in those high pressure moments. Can they produce? Are they consistent? Are they someone we can build a team around? Because as Jeff Legwold said last week on our Tuesday show, which if you didn't go get to see, make sure you go check out. We had Jeff Legwold from ESPN, the senior Broncos reporter there on our show, and got to ask him a ton of questions over the course of the hour. And you all got to ask him tons of questions as well. And I was going somewhere with this, I promise you. But make sure you go check that out. He said a lot of things that were really insightful. But I think what I was trying to say was, this is a rebuilding year, okay? And really looking at that young talent. Oh, that's where I was going. You look at teams like the Kansas City Chiefs, and I think it was their defense, if I remember right, started all the players that started on their team during the Super Bowl this year were players they drafted. And essentially teams like the Chiefs draft really, really well. The Broncos have not. And that is a huge part of our underlying problems from the previous years. So are we screwed depending on who we start at quarterback? I would say no, it really doesn't matter in some regards. The biggest regard is I think we need to get Bo Nix out there. Okay. They keep saying how mature he is. They keep saying how game ready he is compared to other rookie quarterbacks. We need to get him out there and get him that experience. I think we would be screwed if we started one of the other two, either Jarrett Stidham or Zach Wilson, because like I said before, we're just going to be really, we're going to plateau, right? We're not going to move forward until we get the guy under center that we want to be there for the long term. And Zach Wilson and Jarrett Stidham are not those guys. They're not. Really, the only person we're looking at in terms of building a team around in the future is Bo Nix. Okay. So yeah, D-Rock. Okay, Zach Wilson. So yeah, if we started Zach Wilson, we'd be screwed, but I don't think we'd be any more screwed than if we started Jarrett Stidham. We might be a little better off. But it still goes back to that conversation of what is that really doing for Bo Nix to be sitting on the sideline while someone like Zach Wilson's getting starts. Let's see, Anthony, if you're in New Mexico, I'm not sure what kind of preseason coverage game, what you're going to get out there. So look and see if it's in your area, bud. Christopher, good to see you here. Glad you're dropping in. Let's see. Keith, here we go. He says start Nix right away. I agree. Peyton Manning was bad his rookie year, but he learned by getting thrown in the fire. Yeah. And that's what I want us to keep in mind. It could be Bo Nix goes out there and has just as bad a year as Peyton Manning did his rookie year, which was not good. I'll try to research while I talk at the same time, which is never a good idea. Rookie year stats. And let's look and see how bad he was his rookie year. So 1998 out there in Indianapolis, he threw for 26 touchdowns, but 28 interceptions. Okay. And someone said it on some video I was watching, but can you imagine if that had happened during today's age with social media and the TikToks and the X's and the Instagrams and all that stuff, whatever the kids are using nowadays, right? He would have been lit up. I don't know if he would have survived it. So what we need to do as Broncos fans is as we go through this is keep in mind that he is a rookie. I want him to be thrown into the fire like what you're saying, Keith, and get him that experience. And then we see what he does with that over the course of the next year or so. Does he improve? If he doesn't improve, we got a real problem on our hands, guys. We got a real problem on our hands, because then we're essentially 2 years past where we drafted Bo Nix and we're back to square one. So let's just really hope that is not the case, but don't freak out if this year ends up being really, really bad. Anthony thinks Bo Nix will start as well. I love it. Let's see, Chris. But yeah, he didn't have a Hall of Famer helping him. Yeah, I mean, the good thing with Broncos country is we have that connection still to Peyton Manning and John Elway. And for them to be able to give advice and be someone to just, not in any official capacity, but help out these younger players with the experience they have is tremendous. I mean, Peyton Manning alone, and to hear that Peyton Manning still goes into the Broncos facility almost all the time. They never deactivated his scan card or whatever, they never turned off his pin. So he still goes right on into the building, which is fantastic. And that's a great asset to have for Bo Nix, especially. Let's see. Yeah, Chris, let's see. Hey, man, that might be what we talk about next week. So reminder for everyone, until we get closer to the start of the season, we're not going to do full shows on Tuesday nights. We're going to start doing these mini shows a la carte. We're going to pick a different subject and do a deep dive into those player groups, player positions as we get closer to the start of the year. So hold on to that. Let's definitely do that when we talk more about defense and cornerbacks. But appreciate the comment, Chris. Yeah, Manning still holds the record for interceptions. That's not something we want Bo Nix to break, but that is something he does have available to him. Ken with a Miners comment. It's going to be great when we talk about the both the offensive and the defensive lines. I mean, we might just have that conversation at the same time. But Quinn Miners is the belly. I mean, we're talking about our offensive line is good. It's not great by any stretch of the imagination, but it is good. And it is for as much crap as the Broncos offensive line has gotten over the recent years. I mean, that right tackle position is still the biggest concern for us. But everyone that was there last year essentially is returning. And that's huge. That is huge. First time we've had that in years. Okay. So it's going to be really, really exciting to see what this offensive line does, because again, so much of what made them look bad last year and the year before that was Russell Wilson. It was. Russell Wilson's holding onto the ball for too long, and it draws out those holding penalties. It draws out all those other kind of penalties. It leads to sacks. It leads to the offensive line looking like crap. But when you actually look at the game film and you look at what's expected of them, they're actually doing pretty good. If Russell Wilson got the ball out of his hands in time, like other quarterbacks do, that offensive line will look pretty damn good. But we didn't see that because of Russell Wilson. So, message to Bo Nix, really focus on getting the ball out of your hands. It's going to help that offensive line out tremendously and help out the run game and everything else around the board, right? So let's get that going. Okay. Let's see. Chris, if Bo Nix is the main guy and the other two don't pan out, who would you like Denver to get for backup for Nix? Man, I don't have a good answer to that right now. I don't know who's out there. It's one of those things like, would we trade? And what do we have to trade? We don't really have draft capital. We don't have cap space. I mean, we're already paying Jarrett Stidham a ton of money to be a backup quarterback, which is why I think he'll stay the backup. But no other team is going to want to take that kind of contract on for a backup position. I think he's definitely overpaid. Now, in today's day and age, that backup quarterback position is, a little more relevant. Just with the injuries and, now you have your rookie quarterback, what if that doesn't pan out? So having someone out there to really be a solid backup would be good. And I think Jarrett Stidham is probably the right answer because he's been under Coach Payton for a year already. He does have a little more experience. Yeah, he's more of a traveling quarterback, but he does have that experience where Zach Wilson does it. So I don't really think there's any good option there for a backup quarterback position. That's a really good question, though. I think the Broncos' hands are tied at this point. They're not going to be able to trade away Jarrett Stidham. They could cut him. They're still going to be on the hook for some dead money, which we already have a ton of. Thank you, Russell Wilson. And some other players that still make me angry, but it is what it is. So that's a really good question, though. And it'll be interesting to see if the Broncos make any moves in that position as they go through training camp and preseason. See, Alex Forsythe and Bo Nix will be good together. I'm really hoping, man. I think the sooner Bo gets those connections with those players, the better. I mean, that's an obvious kind of a John Manning kind of a statement, or John Madden kind of statement. If they throw the ball in the end zone and they catch it, it'll be a touchdown. Yeah, we know that. But what we're really looking at is, how many of those first team reps is Bo Nix getting during training camp? What do they do with him during preseason? And what is that going to do? But the sooner they get that kind of chemistry built, the more comfortable they're going to be together, the more they're able to go out there and execute in those high pressure situations. You got to remember, we're going to Seattle week 1. Okay. It is going to be, that's going to be a tough game, guys. I don't see us walking away from that with a win. I just don't. I hope I'm wrong. Okay, Rick, let's see. Can come to your show and say hi. Don't really do that here, man. We do fan nights sometimes, but one of these days we'll get you on and share some thoughts, man. Keep that in mind and watch for the announcements when we do fan shows. But Allison, glad to see you here as well. D-Rock, we will definitely do an episode here soon about the tight ends, and I will answer that question. Make sure you keep that in mind as we get closer. Don't give up on your team. Hang on to your team. Yep, completely agreed, man. Let's see. Look, we've been doing this for this will be our 9th year doing this. We're obviously, if we only did this because the Broncos did well, we would have stopped a long time ago. Okay. So look, we're going to be here. We're going to support the Broncos no matter what. We just hope that things start turning around. Last question for the night, Chris. Seattle Seahawks will be happy for us to get rid of Russell Wilson. Yeah, I think they know they dodged a bullet, and we were the suckers on that side of the deal. And now he's out in Pittsburgh, and they got Fields out there as a insurance plan. I'd say as soon as Russell Wilson starts crumbling, I'd say by week 3 or 4, you could very easily see Justin Fields starting for Pittsburgh. Okay. But that week 2 matchup, Broncos versus the Steelers in Denver, get ready for it, guys. It's going to come fast. It's going to come furious. Okay. Victor, let's see. I know it's about his contract anyway. We get Justin Simmons back for less money. That would be awesome. And we'll talk about that when we talk about defenses. And Rick, you can say I'm anything impossible. You guys are there. Don't play football on my side. Always wanted to, just never got into it, did other stuff growing up. But now I watch and I comment from my couch. So anyway, hey guys, that is Bourbon Broncos No BS a la carte for tonight. Quarterback talk. Hope you enjoyed it. Hey, we'll be back next Tuesday night for another topic, another deep dive. Make sure you watch for announcements on that. 7 p.m. Mountain Time every Tuesday night. And then when we get closer to the start of the season, we'll go to our full Tuesday night shows of Bourbon Broncos No BS hour-long show. And start doing all of our other pre-game podcasts, post-game podcasts, pre-game show, halftime show. We're going to be doing all of it for you guys as best as we possibly can. So make sure you stick around for that, guys. The football season is right around the corner, so you are not going to want to miss out as we start breaking this stuff down. That being said, guys, thanks for everything. Thanks for tuning in. Take care, and we will see you next Tuesday as we get closer to training camp. Take care, guys. Nothing left to say, but to end it as we always do on a very strong Go Broncos. Take care, guys.
Do what I like, yeah, I do what I like, yeah, I do what I like. Sip and go, sip is right, and I go with the flow, yeah, I go with the flow, yeah, I go with the flow, cause I know I'm the show. In the zone, here I go, in the zone, here I go, in the zone, here I go, yeah, they know